Hello, investors and traders. Before we dive into our long-term plan for 2024 and 2025, it's important to reflect on what happened in 2021 and 2022 because history often repeats itself. I'm going to make a bold statement, but before I make this bold statement, I want to show you this exact situation happened before. This exact setup has happened before. Not only did we predict this setup 4 years ago, but we posted videos on it. It was not popular videos because it was going against people's emotions, but we feel this will happen again. I want to go back to October 2021, and this is the commodity index. And if you look back in October, it went up, it pulled back, and then until June 2022, it was a major bull market. This was in wheat, natural gas, oil, pig's feed, orange juice, and any commodity that was listed. And what happened to the stock market? Well, the stock market went into a bull market previous that, and then what we call a distribution phase where the market was topping out. And then at the beginning of January, it was clearly easy to see that 2022 was not going to be a good year, and it went straight lower. This is going to be a bold statement. This is going to be a statement that needs to be monitored. This is a statement that's going to need other factors to happen. But we are coming out and making this statement very early. My bold statement today is that commodities will become the hottest sector for the next 6 to 8 months. This shift hasn't fully started yet, but there are signs of breakout. And next year, I believe the stock market will experience significant downturn, just not yet. In a distribution phase, the final phase is what we're going through now. Small caps will do very well on the last part of the distribution phase and then will come into the declining phase. I do not recommend you short into the stock market right now, but there will be a time, probably next year, it will be a great opportunity to short into the stock market. If you do not like shorting into the stock market, rounding up cash and the commodities market or ETFs of commodities or companies that will benefit from those specific commodities going up is the play. In 2021 and 2022, we did great with this same case scenario of buying into commodities and later on shorting into the stock market. This is a super bold statement, I understand, and this is a super unbelievable statement because the last 2 years we've been big bulls, big on the Magnificent Seven, big on NVIDIA, but we told you one day would come that we would start looking the other way. Remember, currently we're in the distribution phase of the stock market and the beginning of a growth phase in the commodities market. We have been taking profits and building up cash for the great 2 years we've had in this stock market. This has been an incredible 2 years, but we're anticipating a third great year, this time in commodities. For the last 2 years, the commodities market has been in a declining phase and recently an accumulation phase. And now we're starting to see certain commodities break out into a growth phase. And I expect this trend to continue over the next 6 to 7 months. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And let's just look at natural gas. For the last 2 years, natural gas has been devastated, has been destroyed. Anyone who's had natural gas had suffered losses. And then from about Q1 2024, what we have called is an accumulation phase. It really hasn't gone anywhere. No major movements. If this ETF commodity future can break out, where does it go to? It's limitless on the breakout. Volume has been there also. Just going over another ETF of the commodities, the DBA, the agriculture. As you can see, this has started somewhere in January of 2024 going up and then dipping down twice to a breakout to now a pullback. I am looking at the overall commodity sector, and it was much easier to invest in technology where everything was going up in technology. especially the Magnificent Seven. But times are changing. Things are changing. Where are these big institutions going to put their money? They're not going to leave it in cash. With all this turmoil that will probably happen next year, and this is not a political channel. This is a channel for you to make money. And after the elections, there will be a lot of uncertainty in this market, no matter who wins. We have recently talked about palladium as one of our stock picks. It broke out and we told you it will pull back. And just like that, it's pulled back. These are just three commodities, three ETFs that we're looking at for the overall commodity sector. And we feel that for 2 years, it has been in a declining phase with many of the stocks in an accumulation phase on the commodities. And now we're starting to see a growth phase. As the QQQ for the last 2 years has been in a major, and the spiders, growth phase, and now I'm seeing major signs of a distribution phase with next year a declining phase. Yes, this is a bold statement, and it may seem a bit early, but the signs are there. I'm sharing this now so that you are prepared to capitalize on these opportunities as the commodities market begin its unbelievable growth phase. This is my long-term plan. Disclaimer, the information provided on our channels for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional financial advice. I need you to do your own homework. I need you to build your own system. Do not take this as advice to buy into the futures market, the commodities market, change everything around. This channel is about building a system. This channel is not to sell you a newsletter, to sell you a program, to sell you this magic box that you're going to make money. This channel is to encourage you to have a long-term plan, to understand where this market is going, and to protect your capital by all means. The first thing that I look at is a top-down approach, the larger picture. Then I look for a trading edge. I try to predict the overall market with a trading edge, always looking for high probability investing with a rule-based system. I am using a weight of evidence in a 3-part process, starting with the overall market to the sector phases to the individual security. We went over today the overall market in the stock market and the commodities. Then I'll break it down into the sectors. For example, in the commodities market, natural gas, oil, wheat, agriculture, to the individual securities, to the individual futures contracts. Right now, the way we feel the overall market is, long term, we are neutral, but we are feeling in January, February, we will switch this to bearish. The intermediate term, after a pullback and after a lot of the uncertainties of the election and some of these brutal wars going on, it will be bullish. Short term, this market has done nothing really other than switching to value, switching to small caps. So thus saying that, we are neutral and not recommending trading the overall market. On a distribution phase, it's the last people getting in. My investment strategy is a data-driven approach to maximize success. I'm trying to increase the probability of achieving by building a system with a set of rules that guide your decision-making process. I'm considering multiple sources of evidence to build a probability, a defined plan, a disciplined approach. The one thing I am is consistent. I am not changing day to day. And it's okay to be a value investor. It's okay to use other indicators. It's not okay to change every single day, every single week from value investing to PE ratio looking to technical analysis to historical information. It's to build a system and be consistent and to take responsibility for your trades. I want you to remember at the beginning of January 18, 2023, we told you buy the QQQs, buy the Magnificent Seven. For the last 2 years, from January 18, 2023, we've been telling you to buy in all pullbacks. Recently, we've been telling you what this distribution phase means, and we have been seeing signs of this distribution phase. We are up 72% just off the QQQs holding it. And as you know, we have been doing a lot of intermediate term buying on pullbacks and short term buying on pullbacks, specifically in the Magnificent Seven. Now we're rounding up cash and starting to to switch our money to the commodities market. The days of buying on the QQQs will soon be numbered. I do believe we will have one more chance and one more run in this market sometime now and seeing the ending in January, but that is very subjective. If you look at the stage analysis of the stock market, S&P 500 securities, 65% are bullish, 35% are bearish. In the NASDAQ, it's pretty much even at 49% and 51%. The S&P 500 securities, other companies are leading the way and has led the way in 2023 into 2024. Another sign of distribution. When small caps do well at the end, another sign of distribution. What's going on now with the companies that are going upwards, another sign of distribution, which will lead to a declining phase. Just not yet. If you look at the VIX and the VXN, the fear index, we are very neutral on what we see. And again, on a 50-day moving average, we're seeing it very neutral. If you look at the future contract itself of the VIX, we're not seeing much movement of fear or complacency. We go to the next indicator, our short-term indicator. As of right now, it's very neutral. Again, if I'm doing a probability, I am waiting for 5 to 7 indicators of the overall market to tell me there's a high probability of buying into this market. At 50s, it's neutral. I look at the CCI indicator and see a lot of signs of a start of a bearish market. As you see, it broke twice and now it's heading down lower. Thus saying yet, it's just not the time to short yet. I feel the institutions will hold this market up till the end of the year while they'll start getting into commodities. If you look at the overbought, oversold indicators, again, short-term, medium-term, and long-term, very neutral. If you look at our components, guess what? Very neutral. The Magnificent Seven have not been seeing the growth phases we have seen in 2023 and the first 9 months of 2024. If the Magnificent Seven falls, this whole market will fall too. Value companies will fall. Everything will fall with the Magnificent Seven falling, except for commodities. There will be a switch, and I will be calling orange juice, wheat, and natural gas the new NVIDIA. If you look at the double AI market, we are bearish, as these signs have been there for months. We've recently done a video on the put call options, and they're saying it's extreme fear in the market, which led and will lead to a further more sell-off. If you go further into the RIDEX ratio, for me, this is a very neutral number from where we've come from. And if you look at the new 52-week highs, it's at extreme greed. Another sign of the distribution phase. What is next? If you've been long in the market for the last 2 years, you've made a lot of money. It's time to take some chips off the table. It's time to collect some money so in January and February, when this market goes lower, you will have an opportunity sometime in the next year and a half to buy at much cheaper rates. If you are very good at investing, you should look at the commodities market. You should look back at October 2021 into June 2022 and study the history. These are very bold statements I'm making. And of course, I have a disclaimer after all these bold statements I'm making. But I've also made many other bold statements that have come true. In 2021, I announced the commodities would be doing this, just like I'm doing now. In 2023, I announced the start of the bull market, and that came to fruition. I even announced Biden would drop out of the presidential election 6 months before it was even hinted that he was going to drop out. So I've made many bold statements that have been correct. And your initial thought with the emotions that you have right now is that I am wrong. But I believe if you study history and you have a system, you will find that I will be right. And time will tell if I am correct. You know the catchphrase: study it, analyze it, adapt it. Peace.